Okay. Welcome everybody to Final Tribal Council of Premier Survivor Season 2. Dundu Mifflin, Chris, Michael, and Tyler. You three have made it as far as you can go in this game. Now the power will be shifted into the hands of the 8 members that have been voted out before. And they will be deciding who will be the second winner of our org. So we're going to start off with opening statements. Michael, since you won the Final Four Immunity Challenge, you will be choosing the order of opening statements. Closing statements will be done in the reverse order that you pick.
Okay, I'm gonna pick Chris to go first, then Tyler, and then me.
Okay. So, Chris, you can go and get started.
All right, I guess I'll just jump right into it. I believe my game was predicated on 2 major facets. The first major facet was forging early, strong relationships with people and pledging to them my unconditional loyalty and letting them know that I would have their backs no matter what, in the hopes that down the road, maybe they would remember that and do the same. The other facet of my game relied on self-preservation. I'm not an offensive, aggressive, shot caller type person. I'm a defensive protector type person. I will do anything I can to protect myself and my allies. I will do whatever it takes. I'll vote with them. I'll play advantages. I will try to talk to people, whatever it may be. I will be there for them up until it may jeopardize my own standing, at which point I do have to protect myself and go into self-preservation mode. And so that's what I relied on for this game. So how did I execute that? Very early in this game, day 1, I clicked with Julia, and it was an immediate ride or die relationship. Day 1, day 2, I had many conversations with Tristan. We were at the exact same level, game-wise, strategically. I knew I wanted him to be right next to me. And I know I told Tristan he was my number 1, but in reality, he was my number 2 behind Julia. But I did want to see him and her at the final 3 with me. Tyler, me and him bonded that very first day. We had an amazing conversation that went well beyond this game. And we sort of had a gentleman's agreement to have each other's back, no matter what that may be. Clifford, that second day, I stayed up late just to chat with him. And he had told me very few people had reached out. And that really hit home for me. And I wanted to be there for him. I didn't know how long I'd be there for him, but I wanted to be there for him as long as I could. And within those first couple of days, I also had a great bond with Allison. We had a lot of conversations. We really clicked together. And then once the swap came, on a game level, I chatted with Brad, and we kind of had a gentleman's agreement. I had my 2 main allies, Tristan and Julia. He had his 2 main allies, Robert and Michael. I'd look out for them. They'd look out for me. And that was the impression I was under. And so, sure, I was involved in a handful of alliance chats here and there, but I didn't put much stock into those. What I put stock into were those one-on-one conversations I had with people. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through the first couple tribal councils. We all know what happened in those unanimous votes. But early on in this game, I went balls to the walls to get Shroot Bucks. I was all over the Facebook page. I was all over Messenger. I was all over YouTube. Whenever they were posted, I was always there. I was so adamant about claiming any and everything. Throughout the course of this game, I actually claimed Shroot Bucks that Matt didn't mean to be Shroot Bucks. So the fact that I was claiming things to try to get whatever I could, and I kept up that gusto for the entirety of the game for the most part, that really proved advantageous and in my favor. So then the game really began at the swap, that first tribal council when the sales tribe went. At that point, Tristan had already had an advantage in his pocket, and Julia felt vulnerable. And so I gave her about half the shroot bucks she needed to get that idol. And at that tribal council, she played it to save herself. And so even though I couldn't physically be there for her, I wanted to make sure she felt safe and had some sort of protection. And I did what I could for her, and I gave her those shroot bucks to get that idol. Going into the next tribal council, things got even messier. Things just were not going the way I had pictured. We had concocted a plan, and by we, I mean Allison, Tristan, myself, and Julia, for 3 of us to pitch in troop bucks, get that transfer advantage, regardless of who goes to tribal. We'll send somebody that way. We'll have the majority in numbers by a wide margin, and things would be just fine. Come that tribal council, the votes are going in, and Tyler tells me to use my idol on Julia. I was shocked. I was confused, but I trusted it, and I played it, and ultimately it saved her. Now, just before tribal, I was worried about myself. I had asked Brad, am I worried? Do I need to play my idol? And he told me not to play it. And so going into tribal, I was under the impression no one was slipping, John was going home, and I wouldn't need my idol. But an ally of mine who I felt had my back gave me the information I needed to save another ally. And I was glad I had the opportunity to do that. And so after that tribal, I was a little annoyed and I felt betrayed for 2 reasons. One, I felt a little betrayed by Brad and Robert because I thought there was a gentleman's agreement not to target each other's allies, and that proved false. And then I was also a little confused and betrayed because I come to learn that plan of the transfer advantage got leaked much sooner than it was supposed to. And so I trusted Julia and Tristan 100%. And I believe Allison was that leak. And because of that, going into the next tribal, all of the original Stanford plus Jules and Tyler were going to vote Allison. And at that point, I felt betrayed, but because of the way the numbers were, there was nothing I could really do to save Allison. And so I wasn't going to put my neck out on the line. I wanted to make sure I was safe. If I put my neck out on the line, my name might have come up. And so I just jumped on the train and I just moved forward without looking back. The next vote was a little bit of the same. Still no advantages, still no immunity. I hear the votes going towards Tristan. I don't want Tristan to go. He's one of my main allies. But had I stuck my neck out, that vote could have very easily changed to me. And so, unfortunately, I didn't do anything to protect Tristan. I didn't try to sway the vote in any way. I just let it be because I had to make sure I was safe. Going into the final 9, this tribal council was the one I truly had some uncertainty about. I wasn't truly sure where Tyler was going to vote. And I wasn't sure if I could trust Jody because this was like the first time Jody was wanting to work together and talk game almost. And so my gut told me Robert might go, but Julia did a great job convincing me she might go. And as a result of that, I decided to throw my vote on Tyler. And I did that for 2 reasons. The first reason, had Julia gone home, I kind of wanted to save face with Brad and Robert. I didn't want them to think I was going to vote against them. But then I also did it because I saw it as an opportunity to maybe sow some confusion into how people thought my relationship with Tyler was. I didn't want people to think I had Tyler's back. And so that was my goal. Going into the next tribal council, I had heard 2 plans. Jody might be going, Michael might be going. We creep closer to tribal and my name starts popping up. I immediately have to go into self-preservation mode. At this point, I have my safety without power. I decide I'm going to use it. But before we go to tribal, I have a chat with Julia because she has her advantage. She truly wasn't sure what to do with it. And I suggested, we need to give this to Clifford. We need Clifford to be safe. Moving forward, having 3 soldiers is better than having 2. And so I believe she took my advice into account because she ultimately gave that to Clifford. Both of us became immune and left tribal council. And I believe had we not done that, one of us would have gone home. And so I did what I had to do to keep myself safe, and I did what I had to do to keep my allies safe. Very next tribal council, once again, I come up short, no immunity. I have 1 Shroot buck to my name, but there's an idol in the vending machine. So what do? I get on my hands and knees and I start begging for those Shroot bucks. I beg for Shroot bucks the same way I've been searching for them the whole time. I admit Julia gave me a handsome sum. I believe it was about 13. But that's not enough. I needed an additional buck from Brad. I needed an additional $2 from Tyler. I needed an additional $3 from Jules. Any one of those people could have said no. Any one of those people could have refused to give me bucks. Had they done that, I don't have an idol. Tribal council would have gone to a revote and I could have gone home. And so I do believe my long-term relationships, as well as my honesty and loyalty throughout the game, convinced people that I was worth keeping around and convinced people to maybe give me Shroot bucks. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know why y'all did that. I'm just grateful you did it because I got that idol and I saved myself. I did what I had to do. And unfortunately, Julia was a casualty. Going into the final 6, I finally have the opportunity to save myself with the challenge. But at this point, it felt like plans were in place to vote out Brad. At this point, Clifford had made a unilateral decision to not vote Michael and to vote for Brad. And I couldn't convince him otherwise. And at that point, I knew the best I could do was force a tie. I didn't want to do that. Ties can lead to rocks, which can lead to me going home. So I took a cop out. I chatted with Michael. I asked him to play his advantage on me just so I wouldn't have to vote. Granted, it was the randomizer. There was a 20% chance, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't want to have to make that call. So I let the wheel do it. And regardless of who went home, I was still safe. And so that's why I did that. Now, going into the final 5 and the final 4, I do believe this is where my long-term loyalty and my long-term having people's back really paid off. I did not win the final 5 immunity challenge. Everything was kind of open in the air at Tribal. It was either going to be me or Jules. And Tyler and Clifford, either one of them could have simply said, I'm voting Chris out. But they had my back the same way I was having their back this whole game. And at the final 4, again, it sort of came down to it was either going to be me or Clifford. And that was a very hard vote for me to do. But because he wasn't answering my messages, I felt like he had already decided to turn against me. So my best move was to plead to Tyler, give me a chance. We have been working together this whole game. I said whatever I had to do. I pulled on everything we had done to this point just to get Tyler to give me a chance to save myself at Fire. And Tyler did that. And at Fire, I did save myself, and I'm sitting here right now. And after Tribal Council, I believe Michael was pretty ticked off that I was still sitting here. So at the end of the day, I believe I'm sitting here for 2 major reasons. Number 1, it was my unconditional loyalty to my allies and having their backs to the best of my ability without jeopardizing my own game and doing whatever it took to make sure I was safe. I wasn't necessarily calling the shots on the votes. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I was, but I will sit here and tell you, going into every tribal council, I, for the most part, felt safe. But when I didn't feel safe at the very end, when it truly counted, the people I had vouched for and that I was working with since the very beginning had my back. And so, thank you. I hope that you see that my game is worthy of a win. And thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Tyler.
Okay, do you want me to go now?
Yep, you good.
Okay, all right. So I know, Jerry, I was like, my game might be kind of confusing, especially when Jules like went out, like saying like where my head was at, like I'm like been playing both sides. So I'm gonna try my best to explain the game, and feel free later to ask any questions, and I'll answer to the best of my ability of what happened during this game. So okay, so going to the game on the Scranton tribe, like the Stanfords lost the first two immunities, and so like we went like a week into the game where I was trying to chat with people, and I was like getting like conversations, but the only real people who was like talking to me were Chris and Tristan, and we had an alliance there, but anyone else that was like didn't want like the majority alliance was just we'll see how it goes. So I felt on the bottom there. And so but when we went to the tribals of Rita and Justin, they were like easy votes, like either not playing or like like trying to strategize too much. So I'm like, okay, I felt good, like they're out, everyone wanted them gone. But I know going into the swap, I felt like I'm still at the bottom of the Scrantons. So going into the swap, as I know, I tried to talk with the original Scrantons, and try to be okay. Hey, I was like, I have you guys' back, but also I wanted to talk with the Stanfords because like I felt like I was at the bottom. So I was talking with them, and I felt like, okay, hey, maybe they want to work with me, and that it's like maybe they can trust me. And then so when we eventually lost and went to tribal, like I found out that I guess Jules also felt at the bottom, and so like I didn't find that out till like an hour before before we had to go. And so like at that point, like without Jules like flipping, like since I fell at the bottom of the Scrantons, if I jumped to the Stanfords, it would be 6-5 at merge if we merged at 11. And then I was like, I would just try to convince Stanfords I'm with them. And then best case, worst case scenario, I'm voted off 6. And I'm like, hey, 6 is a good number. But then finding out Jules was willing to flip, I'm like, wait, Jules is flipping too, and I'm not finding out about it till just now, like right before we have to go. So I'm like, that it goes from worst case like 6th place to now 7th place. And I'm like, okay, I don't like where this is heading. So I had to so I was like, when we went to tribal, I was like, I felt like I had to do something to try to get the numbers back 6-5 instead of 7-4 at the merge. So I talked with Chris at tribal council when we were voting. I'm like, hey, you need to play your idol on Julia. I'll try to explain later. And he ended up trusting me. He played his idol on Julia, and I'm like, okay, it worked. John was out, and then I plan on going back with the Stanfords. It'd be like 6-5. And then I know I was like trying to explain everything, like I guess like try and play both sides. But the morning after when we merged, my game was pretty much like blowing up in my face. Like I know, like I was like talking to the Stanfords, I know talking like Allison and stuff, and it's like everyone was getting mad at me, and I felt like, okay, I was like my game, like we just merged, I'm probably gonna get voted out Thursday, 11th place. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna throw my entire game out there, and if everyone hates me and I'm voted out, that's fine. I was like, I know this is how I played, and I messed up. But fortunately, when I did that, like everyone stopped getting mad, and when we went, I was like, yeah, everyone like forgave me, and like I know like they were mad at me playing the middle, but I end up ultimately like becoming the middle person between the Scrantons and the Stanfords. And I know like talking with the Stanfords, like I knew like Allison was like coming after me. Like I know they wanted like Tristan out, and I felt like I like was able to influence that vote, and like especially with the Scrantons that like I know they had my back, and like they didn't want me to go, so it was like we ended up voting Allison out. And then since it was a double tribal, like I know like since Tristan's name was being brought up, I'm like, okay, you know what? I was like, we voted Allison out. I was like, I can't try to do too much. I'm like, hey, yeah, I was like, I'm willing to compromise. You guys said Tristan earlier. Let's vote out Tristan. And I know like Tristan was like one of the closest people on the Scrantons, but I'm like, I had to give him up, so I'm not like too controlling of the game. So okay, so now we're at the final 9, and I was like working with the Stanfords, like with the Stanford 6, the Stanfords, me and Jules, and like we had like an inner alliance called the Finer Thongs with me, Michael, Jules, and Jody, and we found out that Michael, Brad, and Robert, they pulled their Stroop bucks together and gave Robert an idol, and so like I knew like Brad and Robert were close, and so yeah, we're gonna flush Robert's idol out of the game, like get it out completely out of the game, and I felt closer to Brad than Robert, so I was like completely fine with that. And I knew like Michael and Jules like they were on board with the plan, but you know they were like trying to save face a little bit, and but like me and Jody, I knew we were like willing to get blood on our hands to vote Robert out, so that's what we did. We went with the Scrantons and we got Robert out of the game because I knew Robert and Brad, their names were out there like since the swap. Okay, yeah, and then so we get to the final 8, and so like I was thinking, okay, you know, it was like I know like Michael has been sharing like a lot of like secrets with me about like Brad, Robert, like you know, like and like about like the other side about like their Stroop bucks and everything, like what's going on. So I'm like, okay, I was like, I need to try to make a move against Michael. And I know Jody and I, we were kind of like, you know, in the middle position. And so like I was like, hey, Jody, we need to try to get Michael out. Jody didn't want to do that, and Jody goes to Michael, comes to me, and I'm like, okay. I was like, it's like kind of like confronting a little bit, like, hey, you know, I heard you want to get me out. So I was like, I knew right then and there I had to lie and deny, and I knew like, okay, maybe Jody's not with me. Michael believed me that I didn't throw Michael's name out and that it was Jody. So yeah, at that tribal, like we knew Chris had the safety without power, and since I was close with Chris, like I told Chris, hey, I know about your safety without power. You're going to be the vote. You need to use it tonight. I didn't know about Julia's advantage, but it's like, but it worked in our favor because like we knew Chris was probably going to play it. Me and Julia won immunity, and so yeah, Chris played with his safety without power, and we was going to vote Jody out for because they thought Jody was going after Michael when it was me. So yeah, Chris and Clifford left tribal council. We voted Jody out, and then we go to the final 7. I was like, I'm still mainly with like this the Stanford crew, but I was like, I know like I felt like close with Chris, and so I know he was going around, you know, like trying to get Stroop bucks, and I'm like, and I knew that he was like getting Stroop bucks from Julia. So I'm like, hey, here's 2 Stroop bucks, because I felt like it was gonna be Julia or Chris, and out of the 2, I know Chris and I, you know, we had a great deep connection. Julia, not so much. So I was like, here's 2 Stroop bucks to try to save yourself, get the idol, and save yourself, and then be Julia going home. And I knew at that tribal, yeah, I was like, Brad has his extra vote. I knew about Jules' steal a vote, and we end up splitting 3-3-2, and then we got Julia out of the game. I was like, next, I was like, we're down to 6 people, and Brad was voted out, and that's the only time where I was like blindsided, where I was against the numbers. Like I know at that point, like I was talking with Brad, and I told him that Michael was like sharing his secrets, and I felt that was time I needed to tell him, because I knew like Brad, Michael, Jules were close, and if they get to a final three, or well, to the final five, they're gonna go to the final three. And I know Michael was like, "Hey, yeah, Stanford crew, we're gonna get to the final five," and I'm like, "Okay, well, those three are gonna get to the three." So I had to tell Brad, "Hey, this is what's going on. Michael is against you." So I was able to able to flip Brad. Chris, he got his vote randomized, and Clifford, he ended up getting Brad out. So that was the only time things didn't go my way. At the final five, I was pretty much in the middle. It was Michael and Jules, and it was Chris and Clifford, and it was like I could go either way I wanted. But I knew Michael told me that Jules was coming after me if Chris won immunity. Fortunately, I guess Chris didn't win immunity, so I'm like, okay, like maybe I'm not the target, but I'm like, if I vote Chris out here, Jules is going to want me gone next at 4, and there's nothing I can do. So I end up like flipping again, and so I had to vote Jules out, because I felt like I wouldn't be here right now. And then at the final 4, I was like, I know like everyone, like Clifford ended up getting voted out, but I knew like everyone wanted to bring Clifford to the end, because we felt like maybe Clifford wasn't active as much, or like didn't do as much as like other people in the game, and like it was going to be like Chris voted out. But I knew like if I sat next to Michael like alone, like Michael might be able to say like, hey, I told Tyler what's going on. And so like I knew like I need to try to take control away from Michael, especially like the last vote with Jules. Like he was close with Jules, didn't want Jules voted out, but he didn't want to be in the minority. So I was like, I felt okay. So these last 2 votes need to get the control away from Michael. So I told Chris, hey, I'm with you. I was like, yeah, I'll let you go to fire, and then Clifford can go, and then you'll have a chance to fight. And I knew that, hey, if the control is away from Michael, I might have a better shot at winning. And so yeah, to wrap things up, I know like I may be like a flipper and stuff, but I felt like I just played the game fluidly, and I just made moves where I needed to make moves, and I felt like that helped my game, and that helped me get to the end. And any questions that you want to ask, I'm willing to answer to the best of my ability. So thank you, everyone.
Okay. And Michael, you're up.
So, good evening, members of the jury. I just want to start off by thanking the hosts and all of you for making this such a fun and enjoyable experience. As a super fan of Survivor, playing in my first ever org was so exciting, and I'm really proud of the game that I played. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I played a perfect game or a loyal game, but I did whatever I had to do to make it to the end and give myself the best chance of winning. Before signing up, I told myself that if I was on the jury, I would forgive any lie that a finalist told me as long as they could convince me that it benefited their game. And I hope that you can hold me to that same standard tonight. Survivor is a marathon, not a sprint. The people who emerge as big threats too early get taken out. Winning this game requires the perfect balancing act between having control and not being perceived as too big of a threat. I came into this game wanting to play like a wolf in sheep's clothing, running the game from the background and not becoming a public threat until the very end. I wanted people to see me as loyal, passive, and unthreatening in the beginning so that they would want to take me far in this game. I made sure everyone knew this was my first game. I tried not to talk too much in the main chats or at Tribal Council, and I emphasized my weaknesses like how I sucked at finding shroot bugs and was uncoordinated. Despite the unthreatening persona I put on, I ran this game from the background for a large majority of it. Starting off on the Stanford tribe, I was one of the most insulated players. Within the first couple of days, I had close one-on-one alliances with Brad, Robert, Jody, Aaron, and John. Brad created a 4-person alliance with Robert, Jody, and I a few days in, but I could tell that Brad and Robert had something going on with Brett, and I felt like they were closer with each other than they were with me. I formed a really close bond with Jody where we tried to maintain a secret alliance and take control of the game. Wanting to cover my bases, I created another alliance with Jody, Aaron, and John. Aaron told me that Brad and Robert had another alliance with her and Brett, confirming all of my suspicions. I was fully prepared to vote Brad out of this game third, but I adapted when Brad came clean to me about the alliance and about his advantage. I knew he and Robert were going to be big threats down the line, but they were loyal to me and would be the perfect shields out in front of me. The swap is where my game took a big turn. In the span of an hour, one of my allies quit, the Scrantons purchased 3 advantages, and I had to vote someone off. I had to play hard just to make it through the night. I asked Brad for his vote steal and lied to the Scrantons about who I was voting so that I'd have 2 votes in a revote. Tristan and Julia made amazing plays, and I ended up in a 3-2 minority. Immediately after Tribal Council, Brad and Robert ensured me that they'd throw every challenge to get me to the merge. But now that Jody and I were in a position where it looked like we had to go against each other, I went to Clefford, Julia, and Tristan and pretended like I hated him. This was all just an act to hide how close we really were. Come the merge, I knew I had to do some work to repair my reputation. I tried to spin my lie at the swap as something I did out of necessity to help my alliance. I wanted to rebuild a reputation of being passive and untrustworthy. I talked with the Scrantons socially, but kept our game conversations minimal, and I avoided lying to them so that when it came time for me to actually work with them, they would know I wasn't just giving them bullshit. I was able to go from lying to and stealing Julia's vote to her actually voting me the most trustworthy and touchy subjects 1 week later. I benefited greatly from touchy subjects being so early on in the merge. I used that challenge to put a bigger target on people like Brad, Robert, and Julia, and played up to people like Clefford and Tyler like I wasn't a threat. At the beginning of the merge, my side had a 6-5 majority. I already had final 2s with Jody, Brad, and Robert, but I wanted to cover all of my bases, so I made final 2s with Jules and Tyler and went on regular calls with each of them. I spent a ton of time talking to Tyler because I felt like the key to controlling the game was making the swing vote feel comfortable. I told both Jules and Tyler that I would flip on Brad and Robert when the time came, and they knew they couldn't beat Brad or Robert either. I started thinking about the final 3 from the very beginning of the merge. I looked at the 11 people in the game and saw all these players who were perceived as bigger threats than me, and I planned to pick them off one by one to give me the best chance of winning. And having Brad and Robert as shields out in front of me gave me the freedom to call the shots without having to worry as much about being targeted. The first vote at the merge was simple. Allison had been caught in a few lies, and I knew she had one of the best social games I had ever seen, so I knew I needed her gone. To keep up a trustworthy persona and to manage the jury a little bit, I told Allison up front that I was voting someone from her side out without saying who. By doing that, I was one of the few people Allison didn't block after the vote. I was expecting it to be a 6-5 vote, but it was actually 9-1 to 1 because Brad and Robert had told some of the Scrantons. When they didn't tell me what they were doing, this reaffirmed to me that I was number 3 in our alliance. The next vote was also pretty simple. Tristan had a big move on his resume. I had already lied to him once before, and he was playing the most actively of the Scrantons, so I pushed hard for him to go, and once again, everyone was on board. Tristan, the vote against you was nothing personal. I just saw you as one of the biggest threats to win the game. At the final 9, my alliance had 6 people, and Brad had the only advantage in the game, so I could afford to lose a number, and Robert had withheld information from me in the past. Brad and Robert had a final 3 deal with me, but I knew I wouldn't be able to beat them in the end. The results of the roast had just come in, and Brad confessed he came first, Robert came second, and the truth is I actually came in third, but I kept that to myself. The results of the roast were the perfect metaphor for what would have happened if I went to the end with Brad and Robert. I would have come in third. With all of these shroot books that they now had, they planned on buying an idol. I knew that they were becoming too powerful, so I wanted to make a move, but I knew that I had to keep my hands clean in order to keep a low profile and still be able to make it to the end of the game. I went to Jody, told him all about the shroot books they had and how they had a final 3 with me. I told him to go to Chris, Julia, and Clefford and get at least one of either Jules or Tyler to give him 5. I was going to pretend to still be with Brad and Robert so that I could still work with whichever one of them remained. Tyler agreed to vote for Robert, and Jules played double agent with me. When the vending machine opened, Robert bought an idol, and Jody told me that Chris bought safety without power. I was a pivotal piece to the plan, though, because I was the only one that Brad and Robert trusted to tell about the idol, and I had to get Jody to put the votes onto the right person to flush it out of the game and ensure that Robert didn't play it. Robert, it was nothing personal. Your social and physical game threatened me, and I knew you'd be hard to beat. And after pulling this move off, my hands were clean and Jody's were dripping in blood. After the vote, Brad considered me his number one, and he would put his vote wherever I asked him to. We made an alliance with Jules, and I convinced them to combine their bucks to buy identity theft. I was fine with Jules holding on to it because as long as I knew where the advantages were, I could strategize around them. I bought the Bo Buddy advantage earlier on, but told Brad that Jody gave it to me because I wanted Brad to start to trust Jody again. The only advantage I was unsure about was that's what she said, and I knew that Chris, Julia, or Clifford had it. Going into tribal council, Julia was immune, Chris had safety without power, and they had one other advantage out there. I knew Chris would probably use this advantage, and I needed a backup plan. I didn't want to take Clifford out because there were bigger fish to fry. Brad and Jules both had advantages that I knew they'd use to help me out in the game, but Jody didn't. Jody also knew my game the best and had the power to blow it up. Jody, I absolutely love you, but you told me you were the biggest villain in the South African org community and that you'd take all the credit for the Robert move in the end. I knew you'd only go to the end with me if you knew you'd beat me. And you referred to us as the Shannon Ricard of the season, so I knew I had to take the shot at you first. I rallied everyone together to vote Jody, but told Jody to vote Brad. At the final 7, I knew where all 3 advantages were and came up with several plans to get either Julia, Chris, or Brad out, depending on who won immunity and if an idol was purchased. Jules told me that Chris had 12 Shroot Bucks and Julia had 10, but they were waiting for the other to get voted out so that they'd have an idol at the final 6. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted the idol flushed this round. So I told Jules to go to Chris and Julia with a plan that required them to buy the idol. I knew that they would be putting votes on me, so I told Brad to put his extra vote on Chris and asked Jules to use their vote steal so it would be a 3-3-2 vote, and the idol would be out of the game. I got everybody to use their advantages to save me, put the blood on their hands, and it allowed me to make it to the final 6 with the only advantage remaining in the game. Now that we were down to 6, Tyler caught on to how hard I was playing, and he attempted to take me out because he thought I'd beat him in the end. Tyler told Brad that I've been planning to take him out for weeks now. And Brad, I want you to know that it was never personal, and I think you're an amazing man, but I had to put up with people perceiving me as your puppet for weeks, and I had to show them that I wasn't in order to give myself a chance of winning this game. I had been working closely with Jules since the beginning of the merge, and Clifford and I had an agreement not to target each other, so this gave me 3 votes. I promised Chris I'd go to the final 3 with him and Clifford if he kept me. Chris asked me to randomize his votes so that he didn't have to make a decision, and in return, he'd tell Clifford to vote Brad. I was able to save myself and get the biggest threat out of this game through the relationships I built and by going the whole merge without ever lying to Chris or Clifford, so that when I wanted them to trust me and I needed them to, they would. At the final 5, I knew that after controlling the past few votes and making a big move by taking Brad out, I had a big target on my back. But I also felt confident to sit against anyone in the end. I just had to get myself there. Tyler wanted me and Jules gone because we had the most agency throughout the merge, and he wanted to be sitting in the end with people who had little to no control like Chris or Clifford. I fought for over an hour to win the endurance comp to guarantee my safety. And as much as I love you and wanted to save you, Jules, I knew that Tyler was the swing vote and that he wanted to take Chris and Clifford to the end. My vote would not have kept you in the game, so rather than giving you a pity vote, I wanted to give myself a chance of staying if I lost the final immunity challenge. And Chris was promising me that he would return my loyalty if I kept him and that he would take me to the end. I know you felt betrayed, Jules, but I want you to know that I would have given you my vote if it would have made a difference and kept you around. I felt that to play the game strategically, I had to give myself a backup plan in case I lost that final challenge. At the final 4, I won another endurance immunity by pushing myself to my limits, and I brought myself to the end. Sitting in the final 3, I feel like I played the strongest game out of the finalists here. I managed my threat level well. I had the most control throughout the merge. I excelled at playing both offense and defense. I won 3 challenges, the most of anybody, by fighting until my body gave out. I played my advantage successfully to take with the biggest threat in the game in Brad. I played to the jury at times by not lying when I didn't need to, and every lie that I told I can justify because it furthered my game. I dominated strategically, socially, and to my own surprise, physically, and I hope that you give me your vote tonight. And regardless of what happens, I'm happy with how I played, and I had an amazing time with all of you.
Okay. Let's see. I think Jody had to go to a challenge. So Tristan, are you available to go first?
I am definitely available to go first. So I just want to say congratulations to the three of you. I definitely think it's really interesting to see Chris and Tyler up there. The first Alliance chat I had this season was Corey's Angels, which was three of us from Corey's org. So I'm a little sad to see myself not up there. And what's that? Oh, we're out of time. That's it. Everybody spent so long talking. That's the whole tribal council. Goodbye, everyone. I'm kidding, of course. But oh my gosh, guys, come on. Can you really not summarize your games quicker than that? That was ridiculous. And not only that, but like it was delusional. I don't even know what that was. Like, Michael, I don't understand it. You say you played your game, you didn't want to lie to people. And if you really genuinely believe that, I'm tallying that as another lie because you're just lying to yourself. You're saying that like it's worth it to lie to people if it protects my game, but I have it on pretty good authority. It wasn't your game that you were really playing. You know, I heard there may have been someone a little bit of coaching there. Tyler, I really don't know what to say to you. I don't really have any sort of question. I'm confused. After the last game we played together, I should have known that was a shame on. I don't even know what the saying is. Like shame on me once, or fool me once, shame on you, me, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. After last game, I should have known better than to work with you, but I did work with you again, and it bit me in the ass. Chris, I recently hit a raccoon last week, so I need a new car. So I'm hoping you can sell me a used car for pretty cheap. But in all seriousness, I don't want to give you guys another platform to spend 20 minutes answering a question. So can the three of you pick a number 1 through 100? I'll have you go in the same order. So Chris, a number 1 through 100.
69.
Tyler.
43.
All right, and Michael?
42.
All right, thank you. Good luck with the rest of the jury.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have Robert. If you're available. Robert, are you ready? If not, Joey, you can go. They might both get tribal council. Sorry.
So can I go?
No, Robert can go. Robert's good.
Yeah. Unless Jody, do you need to go? I know you mentioned you had a challenge also. I don't know.
Yeah, can I go, please?
Yeah, Jody, if you're ready, like, and Robert.
Okay. Okay. So congrats to all three of you. I expected two of you to make it and the other one not to make it. So well done. I just have a statement. I don't have a question because I know kind of who I'm voting for. But Michael, I think we were really close in the game. We spent hours on video calls and stuff. Whereas I didn't really video call anyone else because I told you that I'm extremely awkward on video calls. So that being said, that's fine. And I did tell you that the only way you can win is to sit next to me and Tyler. But you still allowed Chris to make it to the end, which I think at the moment, it looks like it will cost you the win. But we will see what happens. I know who I'm voting for, so there's no reason for me to ask any questions. But I just want to say, Chris, thank you for wanting me to play my idol that I didn't have. You were the only one that was like you were the only one honest with me. Like my own allies weren't honest with me, and I hope people recognize that you played a good game as well. So good luck to all three of you. Thank you.
Okay, jury, have you guys decided on who's going first or going next?
Robert is going and then I'm going.
Allison, is that okay with you?
Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second. I just need to, so I can hear. Okay, can you all
This
hear?
is not a democracy.
Can you guys all hear?
You're good, Robert.
Cool, thank you, Chris. I don't really have a ton to say up until I was a little preoccupied with other stuff. I just got messages though, and I just wanted to clarify. Let me get my notes. Did someone say that I was a puppet to someone? No, okay. Allison, no, just kidding. I don't know. So, like I said, I think all three of you played a good game. You guys all got to Final Tribal Council, something that the rest of us didn't get to. My mind has kind of been made up. Once the jurors all started coming in, it was very obvious that one of you was playing a really wishy-washy game, not committing. One of you was playing a really solid game, but you put yourself in the position. So it was like, why make life harder? And the other one was just not being a really great person, which is pretty disappointing. So I don't have any questions, but Brad, who cannot be here, just had some quick notes he asked me to read. So Tyler, you first. He says he thinks you're an incredibly nice guy, really connected with you on a personal level. He hopes to be friends with you after the game. His question was, what was your strategy going back and forth, which you answered. And his other question was, did you ever really know where you're going to land? Did you have any long-term strategy, or do you just play round by round?
Okay, yeah, I can answer that. It was mainly playing round by round, especially being at the bottom like so early on. So it was just mainly round by round, and I felt like if I gave like one side too big of a numbers, then I could be next. I was just so yeah, that's why I was like kind of like going back and forth, and then I was voting out like the threats like who I felt like had to be next. So yeah, it was more round by round and not long term.
Perfect. Thank you. So now the next one, Michael. He says, Michael, I really enjoyed playing with you, or at least my perception of you, who you were until the last day of the game. The hour before I was voted out, I told you truthfully I have never lied to you about anything that you said or done, and it was not about to start. He said, and I asked you to at least be truthful for the next hour. You refused. So his question for you is this game truly that important to you? Do you really need to win this badly?
I mean, to me, lying is just part of the game. Like I look at it like any other game, and I don't think it makes you a liar in real life. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with lying in a game of Survivor, and so I was willing to do that to win.
Okay. Follow-up question is, you told him that perception is reality. How do you think people might perceive you after the game you have played?
I think people perceive me as a snake. By the sounds of it, I don't think the jury is very happy with how I played. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I will say, like, I really enjoyed, like, this is Robert speaking, I really enjoyed you in this game. So it was really disappointing that every juror that came after said all the nasty things that you said about people. I truly believe, I'm with you, that you do have to lie in Survivor, but you don't have to be nasty about it. I think both Tyler and Chris also had their fair share of lies, but no one said that they said anything nasty about them. This isn't a question. I don't need a response. That's just something that I've learned is I don't think you need to lie about people and who they are. I think you just need to lie about the moves that they made. So finally, Chris, Brad says, there's nothing I need to say to you that you don't already know. We never really worked together in this game, but you know I have the most utmost respect for you as a human being, and I love you dearly. Great game, bud. Coconut Bandits for life. Chris, I will say, like, I didn't know you going to this game, and I know we played two games that kind of coincide, but I really enjoyed learning about biology from you, and I enjoyed our chats. And I think of the three people here, I was least likely to vote for you on paper, but we will see what happens with that. All right, your turn, Julia.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure you all missed me dearly. As many greats who have come before me, I don't have questions. I just have some general statements. Like I said, I think we got a whole dissertation Bible length with all of your opening statements. So I'm going to leave questions to people who have burning ones, but I just have a couple statements that I would like to make. Tyler, I sent you a message at some point after Touchy Subjects, and I told you that I thought you were playing a great game and to keep your head up, and I stand by that, and I'm proud of the way you played. If one other person sitting here wasn't sitting here, you absolutely would have gotten my vote. I think you played a really good game. I think you should be proud of it and keep your head high. Michael, I genuinely enjoyed talking to you as a person. I think you're a lovely human being, but at its essence, Survivor is a social strategy game. That's why they called it the ultimate social experiment up at the beginning. And I am a firm believer, and if you know me, I say it all the time, you could be the best strategist in the entire world. You could win every single competition there was. But at the end, people have to want to vote for you to win. And I think that is the fatal flaw in your game, is that you might have dominated on both of those aspects, but the people don't want to vote for you to win. I think lying is an extremely important part of this game. As you said, you can't win this game without lying. Hell, I love lying. It's part of the fun, you know, the little adrenaline rush. But there gets to a point, like with the Brad stuff, and you know the advantages, and you said you had like that such great grasp that like it comes down to just maybe like the hey, like you are going, Brad, like here's my honesty to you, that come to this moment in time and you get here takes you leaps and bounds. And this is your first game, and for your first game you played phenomenally. You played very well. Like you said, you dominated the strategic portion, you kicked ass in the challenges. You cannot discredit you for that. But it's that little disconnect between your game that is what holds you back. Hold on. No. Period. And no. Yes. Period. And Chris, you're a great partner in crime. It was fantastic getting to play with you, and I am so enthusiastic and thrilled to be voting you to win this game. Again, I think all three of you played very well. I think sitting through your opening speeches was the worst 45 minutes of my entire life. But congratulations to all three of you for making it here. And good luck with the rest of us. I was probably the nicest person you're going to hear. Besides Robert, he's a peach.
Okay, Allison said she can't go next. So we're going to move on to Jules. Are you ready to go now?
I need like 3 minutes and I'm almost home.
In that case,
The hour and 15-minute opening speeches really messed up all of our timing.
let's see. Clifford, are you available to ask your question? I know you sent it and you can professional chat, so we can also ask for you if you can.
I don't have any question. I just have statements. Okay. Congratulations, finally you made it this far, and that's great achievement. All of you are deserving to win this because you managed to outwit, outplay, and outlast all of us. To Chris, it was nice meeting you. Thank you for protecting me throughout this game, and the moments that we created, I will cherish it. To Michael, it's a shame that I only get to know you for a short time because you're a great person, honestly. This is your first org and reaching final trophy considers a huge accomplishment. So for this to you. Tyler, gosh, I gotta be honest, I'm a little confused by some of your moves in this game, but I know that you're an awesome person. Well done, guys. Whoever win this, play the best and play the best game socially and strategically. Best of luck.
Okay. Jules, just whenever you're ready, you can go and go. I know you still might need a minute.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. I have a question and then I got some statements. Hello. Great job, final three. So first question is to Tyler. Tyler, here's I'll say a statement and then you can, I guess, respond to it. So it's not really a question, it's more a response. Okay. For me, my view is that, and you kind of answered it by saying that you play round to round this game. But however, I want to really know, because my view is that you're kind of here by coincidence, by writing other people, and you're just here by coincidence. You had some awesome moves. The thing is, I don't think you realize you made them, because in your speech, those moves that I have in my head that you didn't hit on them. You didn't talk about those. You kind of just gave us a whole thing of the story of this game that we already knew. So I guess respond to that, because I'm just seeing that those moves you made, you didn't even realize you did, and you're kind of here by coincidence and being dragged.
Okay, I was like, I don't think I'm here by coincidence. I mean, I was like, I guess I might need you to elaborate on those moves that I made, but like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I played round to round, and I was like, I don't think I was here by coincidence, because I was like pretty much in the middle, and like besides like the Brad vote where I was blindsided, like I pretty much like helped like dictate like what the vote was going to go. So like I felt like I had a say in what happened, and not that I was like dragged or just happened to get here.
Okay. I do want to touch on something because you mentioned it, and I think Michael mentioned it. Okay, the Robert elimination. Okay, hang on. Let me get my drag. Hang on. All right, I'm here. The Robert elimination. Yo, you totally gave me, I know you had something you couldn't be there, but you gave me literally whatever I wanted to do with your vote. You trusted me, but at the end of the day, what I did is I found out that Chris was going to throw his vote. Okay. So I purposely tied that vote. And then, yeah, I used your vote, placed both on, I placed one on each. Okay. And then I placed the other two when we went to revote, both of them on Robert. You kind of like mentioned that though, as if like you were there, but you weren't, and you didn't really have any impact in that vote because I literally controlled that. Had I not done that, none of that would have happened. And you kind of gave me free like will to do whatever that vote. The other vote, yeah, Chris already said it. I gave him the rest of the money to get that idol. That was me. Sorry, Michael, but that was me. And in doing that, I knew what would happen that vote. So I'll have a question for Chris. Chris, if you can just talk briefly about, there was some problems in your earlier game, social wise, that I think you weren't seeing. I think you fixed those problems and you had a very improved game is what I want to call it. If you can kind of touch on that social aspect a little bit more from start to finish of, here's what I want to hear from you is that you talked to the right people when you needed to. That's what I want to hear.
So I think maybe the social game you're alluding to might be my relationship with Tyler, because he early on for those swaps and those votes, he was ready to jump ship with you, and I had no clue about it. And when he told me to save Julia, we went through that. And then it sort of became more apparent I needed to be more on top of talking to Tyler on a more daily basis and including him in more group decisions. And so when alliance chats were made, I made sure Tyler was a part of them so that he would know that we're not leaving him out and making him feel like an outsider. I think that was probably the biggest improvement I made socially, because I think for the most part, I was actively social with the people I was working with on a very daily basis.
Okay. And then, Michael. So yeah, just bringing up the Julia elimination too, because you kind of like took a big claim in that. But the thing is, without my advantage and me playing it how I wanted to, that wouldn't have happened either. Had I not given the idol or had, helped Chris get the idol, none of that would have happened. It would have been a different story. So I guess I'll do I just want to like say something first. Julia touched on it. Robert touched on it. But yeah, I think there is a difference of the lying versus like trying to, I don't know, like go after someone's character. And I felt like you were doing that with Brad. I still don't know the actual truth of those screenshot things, but I do know what you told me. So I do have that. I do know that you told me that Brad sent those screenshots and that he sent them like 3 different times. And that's my truth. Whatever happened actually with that, if it's true or not, I don't know. I just know what you told me. But I think that takes it to a personal level, because then you're kind of going after someone's character. And I think that other people kind of touched on that. So I'm not going to go like full in with that, but that's just one part of it that I was involved in.
Sorry, can I ask how I attacked his character though? Because I'm still confused about that.
From my perspective is that the screenshots never existed, but you told me they did.
I have proof. I sent them to the hosts.
I can say we were sent screenshots showing that.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. That helps.
I'm just okay. I'm just really confused about why people are like attacking my character or saying that I attacked other people's character. Like I am like really confused about what the perception of the jury is about me right now. Can you like let me know so I can defend myself?
I think everyone has like their own little pieces as they came in the jury. I mean, I told you mine, that's my perspective. As far as everyone else's, I mean, I can't really speak for them, but that's my experience, is that part. Also, there were some things said about Allison that I didn't really appreciate. I guess she'll touch on that when she speaks. But as far as your game, she can speak when she's here. But as far as your game, I think you did play a pretty good game. I just think there are some things that you just need to work on with the social aspect of the game, because to me it sounded like you didn't talk to certain people when you needed to, versus Chris, where he did. He didn't talk to me at first. Me and Chris didn't even have a conversation, like when I think it was right before I helped him get that idol, right?
I think our actual conversation, like an actual like just hi, how you doing, wasn't almost till a weekend. And then game wise, it really wasn't until after the merge.
Yeah. But I think Chris had that idea of, hey, I didn't need to talk to these people yet. I didn't need, they're not really part of my plan yet. But eventually Chris got there where he talked to the right people at the right time. So I think for you, like next time, just kind of work on maybe doing that versus trying to pin people up against each other. Does that make sense?
I'm still a little lost. Like, who specifically do you think that I needed to talk to that I didn't? I'm
talking
a
about
little
timing.
about timing.
Yeah.
What specifically are you referring to?
I'm referring to, so to me, you had a group here, which you kind of explained that in your speech, right? And you tried to connect some of them, right? But there's certain people where you tried to connect and you brought them in, and it kind of went against your game because then information was leaked.
Like, which time are you referring? Like at the final 6 when Tyler leaked information? Are you talking about that?
No. I'm talking about like after that. I'm talking about with whenever Julia was supposed to go the first time. With Robert going, and then when Julia actually went, those 3 times.
So the Robert vote, and then so Robert went, then Julia went, right? Or no, Robert, Jody, then Julia.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you feel that I didn't time properly?
I think there was connections that you involved that you didn't need to at that time, because that's when information got out. That's whenever Tyler was about to flip on you. And oh, sorry, I was reading that. And I just think that, yeah, with your connections, you have to make sure that they're not going to give information out, because a lot of the times Chris knew exactly what was going on with everything. So
But
that's, I mean,
but ultimately, like, the vote still went the way I planned. So I'm just confused why you think that I made a mistake there.
I don't think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right, let's just hang on. Let's just scrap that.
Okay.
All right, but I do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know from Merge, who did you want to see sat at the end with you, or if it was a final 3 at Merge, and then also at my elimination. Is that how you wanted it planned? So Merge, who did you want your final 3, and then right at mine?
At the Merge, I wanted to be sitting with Tyler and Clefford.
Okay.
And at your elimination, probably still Tyler and Clefford.
Okay. And I think that is it. I feel like I was going to ask Tyler another question, but I don't know. I can't think of it right now. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay.
So thank y'all.
Allison, you up?
Yeah, I'm here. My turn.
Yep, you go.
All right. Hi guys, how you doing? It's the Queen of Ponderosa here. So Chris, I've been dying to talk to you, so you're first on my list tonight. So hey, how you doing? Take your cameras. Yeah. I want to talk to you. So okay, just want you to know the person that betrayed you is actually in the final 3 with you. It was not me. It's Tyler and Jules. So you threw my name under the bus the whole game. So I think I get a little bit of an apology because you took the person that actually betrayed you to final 3. Tyler flipped and flopped the whole game. So I don't know where my name came from, but I'm assuming it came from Tyler. So that's one thing I'd like to know.
Oh, can I respond?
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah.
Okay, well, first and foremost, if it wasn't you, I was duped, and I'll own that. I believed Tyler, Brad, and I can't confirm with 100%, but I do think Robert also said it. But between the 3 of them independently saying you told them, that made me sort of believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but I feel like we had a pretty good connection and I had never really given you a reason to not trust me. And it just felt like you got paranoid there in that moment. And like for me, watching your game from jury and getting to hear everybody kind of coming in, you really kind of shot yourself in the foot with that vote and made the rest of your game more difficult than it needed to be. Like you made some great moves, you did some great things, but I think your game could have been a lot easier if I didn't go home and then Tristan went home next and then Julia was shortly after that, because those were actually the people that were loyal to you. It definitely wasn't Tyler. Tyler wasn't loyal to anybody, and he doesn't even understand his own game well enough to own that. So he flipped and flopped with the wind. He had no alliances to anybody. Very frustrating to watch Tyler go when everybody else who was actually loyal to you was coming into jury. So I just don't understand. Like, do you see that kind of maybe in hindsight now?
In retrospect, I see it. And in retrospect, and even at the time, I'll just admit I was fooled and I believed the wrong people. And that vote, I did tell Tristan, Julia, that I was going to vote you and they should do the same. And now, knowing for sure that it wasn't you who leaked it, I regret that decision.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks. And it sucks to hear people come in and say you were almost bullying them into voting me. Like you really forced people to vote for me. And I just think that that was premature. Even if you felt that way, it just felt like that was premature because a lot of people who were more inactive in the game and really had no loyalty ended up getting kind of further. So I think that was frustrating for a lot of the jury to watch. When we felt like, you know, it was Clifford going in there and people that we didn't feel were maybe as active. And I can also tell you this, you know, and this kind of shifts over a little bit to Tyler. I do think Clifford would have gotten a lot more votes than you guys think if Clifford had gone. So I do think, Tyler, you made the wrong choice by letting Chris get to the end. I think you're going to regret that when you look back at it. You should have let him come to jury because I think you would have had a shot to win it. Go, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, if you were just gonna shift over to Tyler now,
I go ahead. I didn't mean to, but
well, if you were, I simply wanted to end it with I was wrong, I was duped, and I did not have a good reason outside of what they told me to turn on you, and I'm sorry for that.
I mean, that's fair enough. And, you know, like I said, I think you made a lot of great moves. You played a great game. It got you there at the end of the day. I just think it was a little more difficult than it needed to be. So, all right. So Tyler, I kind of already switched over to you. But I think you were a total snake in this game. You know, you're the one that was throwing my name under the bus to everybody when I went home, and you didn't even own that in your final speech. Like, you don't even seem to understand the moves that you made in the game that were so good. Even when I was talking to you after you did the double flip, that was such a good move. There was no reason for you not to own that. Like, you didn't seem to really have confidence in your own game. And you were playing a really good game, but you made some fatal errors. And one of the biggest ones, I think, was letting Chris get to the finals with you. Like I just said, I think that you would have gotten a lot more votes if you had just let Chris go to jury. So I don't know if that's more of a statement or anything, or if you have anything to say to me, like.
Okay, I can comment on the Chris thing. I guess the other stuff, if you have any other stuff, I can answer that. But I was like, I know with Chris, because at the final four, like, I mean, I did have the option of voting Clifford out, and Chris, you know, we had a video call, and he said, yeah, like, if you vote me out, I understand. I was like, I even, like, if I go to jury, I was like, I'll fight for you in this game. And so it's like,
but that's
I guess
not really
maybe
my
I'm
question.
not, maybe.
Tyler, what I'm asking you is, like, did you even understand what a good move it was to, like, make me the scapegoat? Because I know you were the one making me the scapegoat. Unless I'm wrong, like, tell me that I'm wrong, because you're answering something I'm not even asking you right now.
Oh, sorry. I know you, like, mentioned about the Chris thing,
yeah.
So I was like,
yeah,
going off
I'm
that,
asking like a specific question. Like, were you making me the scapegoat? It's like a yes or no.
Yes, I was making you the scapegoat because, like, I know you was going to Brad, and like whatever I was saying, you was like repeating, and so like I knew like you were like against me, and I was like, I heard from like the Sanfords and then Chris at like the last hour, 30 minutes, however long, that you were after me. So I was like, that's why, because I know they wanted Tristan out, but I'm like, Allison has to go. Allison is coming after me. I want Allison gone.
So to me, those are the moves you should have been owning in your final speech. It was very convoluted. I didn't hear things like that. So, and again, I think you made a mistake by taking Chris, and unfortunately that's going to cost you the win probably tonight. So I'm going to move on to Michael because I have to go. So good luck, Tyler. So Michael, the thing that Jules is referencing is a lot of people were coming into the jury saying you were making personal attacks on me, and saying that I was making you uncomfortable and that I was, basically that's the biggest one, is that I was making you uncomfortable. And I felt like we always had a good connection and you and I got along just fine. So hearing those things coming into jury was really frustrating, especially coupled with other personal things that it seemed like you like to take into the jury, not just, it was above, I mean, I'm sorry, into the game. It was over and above just lying. It was taking it to a personal level with people. And that's how a lot of people feel in the jury, that it's fine to lie in the game, but there was personal attacks that were being made. And this game was a lot of times very over dramatic for no apparent reason. And it seemed like your name or Jules's name was always involved in that for some reason. And I don't really understand why. And it seems like Jules knows a lot more than anybody else about these things that you were doing. So I don't know if that helps shed a little bit of light on things, but it's just very frustrating. You know, I know it was your first Oregon stuff, but I don't think there's ever a reason for it to get personal.
Can I just say that I never said that you made me feel uncomfortable? Like, I don't know who said that. Was that Jules?
Jules said you were telling her that or them that constantly.
I never said that Allison made me uncomfortable. I said that you flirted a lot with people, or like that's what I heard that you were doing. Like, that's all I said.
Hey, I mean, I'm just giving you the opportunity because that's what I heard from people, and that was my frustration, is it felt like it constantly was your name in there, be it true or not. That's the perception that the jury is having of you, is that you made a lot of things personal and unnecessary, and weren't really upfront with people. You weren't really loyal to anybody. We don't really understand your game, but I guess I just really have more of a statement for you than that. I have to go, so good luck, everybody. That's all I got. Okay.
Okay, everyone. All we have from the jury members. So we'll now be going over to closing speeches. Please try to keep it short, as we've already gone pretty far. So we're going to be going backwards in the order before us. That means Michael, starting with you.
Hi, jury. So to close off, the motto of this game is outwit, outplay, outlast. And I think that translates nowadays into the best strategic, social, and physical game. I think I played a strong strategic game because of my threat management and ability to orchestrate moves using my knowledge of the advantages and relationships around me. And I think I played a really strong physical game because I won 3 immunities and I won 2 of the hardest ones in the game. And I think that if you're looking for the person with the most well-rounded game, I think that was me.
Okay. See, Tyler, you're up.
Okay, yeah, I'll try my best to keep it short, but yeah, I was like, yeah, thank you, Jerry, for allowing me to speak. Like, I know, like, it's like, you guys may have like felt that I wasn't like confident in my game. Like, I know this like speech, like this like final speech, like I'm like nervous because I'm not like good at giving speeches. I was like, I thought I played a good game playing the middle, but like, it's like, I know you guys like probably voting Chris or whatever, but I was like, yeah, I just want you to vote with your heart and vote for whoever you feel play the best game. I was like, I'm proud of making it to the final 3, and no matter what happens, I'm not mad. And first, second, or third, I'll be happy with what happens.
All right, jury, you saw the game. I told you how I played. You watched how I played. Vote for a winner.
Okay. And that is all we have until we have the votes. I will be ending the live. The jury members will all get a chance to vote, and they will be deciding the second winner of Premier Survivor. So see you guys for now, and we'll be back on soon to read the votes.